year, after reading Grant Cardone's 10X rule, it was clear to me that not only is it good to set goals, but it's good to set big goals. And if your goals don't scare you, then they're not big enough, right?
Yeah.
And so most people like to set comfortable goals and goals that they think that they can. And it occurred to me that I can set that goal, but that goal shouldn't be where I should try and reach. If I want 2 houses, I should set my goal for 5 houses, because I might end up at 4 houses, right?
Hello and welcome to the Millionaire Enlisted Podcast, where our goal is to incentivize you and educate you to reach financial education via real estate investing. Today is our first podcast. We are very excited to have you with us. My name is German Buendia and I'm the host. Right now with me, my co-host Oscar Buendia and Nelson Owuzu. To give you a little bit about myself, I'm very excited to start this podcast today and to share my story as well as my journey via real estate investing. I am active duty military, Marine Corps for the last 18 years. I'm very excited to share my story, to educate you, to incentivize you, motivate you to reach your goals and to be able to live life the way it's supposed to be. So now I'm just going to introduce my brother, Oscar Buendia, and also my partner, and Nelson Owazu. Oscar, go ahead. Give us a...
Hey, everyone out there in podcast land. My name is Oscar Buendia. So a little bit about me. I've been in the Air Force for about 10 years now. I was born in Colombia. I grew up in New Jersey. I came here when I was 4 years old. One of the things about me is I'm really into helping others for financial education and showing them how to be better with their finances. And that's pretty much what I want to do and help with this podcast. So I hope that we can make a difference in your life, and I hope you're listening out there and can take a little nugget out of this podcast. I'm going to go ahead and hand it over to Nelson so he can introduce himself.
All right. Hey, everybody. I'm Nelson Onwuzu, and I've been in the Air Force for about, 3.5 years, going on 4 years now this summer. And I'm from Texas, born and raised. So by default, I'm a Cowboys fan, unfortunately. I am excited about this podcast because I'm hoping to learn just as much as everyone watching this. And hopefully I can give and share knowledge just as much as I'm receiving knowledge. Let's get this started.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. So just to let our listeners know, we're going to talk about our personal story on our first episode. We're very excited. So we apologize beforehand if we make any mistakes, which we're going to make a lot. We have made a lot. We're going to talk about how we got into real estate investing and why we got into real estate investing, as well as we're going to share about our stories, our recent deals, and our past projects that we had and our future projects as well. So to start this right now and start with marching foot, Nelson, why don't you just tell us how and why you got into real estate investing?
Yeah, so I got into real estate investing pretty much because I realized that there was a difference between making money or working for money and letting money work for you. Once I realized that, I understood not only what it meant to be a real estate investor, but what it meant to be an entrepreneur. And so investing in my first place gave me the power to not only take control of my life and where it was going, but also see the light at the end of the tunnel, which was hard to do when I was working 9 to 5, and I'm 25 years old, so working for the next 30 years of my life didn't seem too enjoyable. So that's why I started, and how I started was buying my first house back in 2018, which I did not buy as an investment. I bought it as a primary residence. It ended up becoming an investment when I started getting roommates and I started Airbnb the rooms out, because I started reading books like Rich Dad, Poor Dad, and I started getting advice from mentors and people like Oscar, and it honestly helped me understand that not only did I need this house, I needed another house, another house. And so I feel like I'm on a good path right now, and we'll talk more later about where I'm going next. And Oscar, if you want to take the reins and tell us about how and why you got in.
Yeah, man. So first, I'm just gonna say, I think it's awesome that at 25 years old, you're already thinking ahead and expanding into this. I can tell you when I was 23, 24, 25, I was thinking about it, but I was not acting on it, and I was just having fun. I wish I would have had someone to tell me exactly what to do or how to do it when I was at your stage. So I congratulate you on that, man. So a little bit about me. So my why, for me, I think it really came as I became a husband, a father, and I think that put a pressure behind me that I want to do more in life and do more for my family and have that freedom of time, that independence. I've always wanted that, but I think that really lit a fire under me, and I wanna be able to pass things along to my kids. I want to be able to tell my wife one day, hey, you know, you have the option. If you want to get out the military, you can. We've supplemented your income. And that's freedom to us, right? Options to stay in, options to stay out. Um, you get a job that pays less, but maybe you're happier in, that passive income, or starting a whole new business in real estate. That's super exciting. And then the how, when I arrived in Colorado Springs in 2016, bought our first home, but then immediately after that, I said, I want to buy a rental property, and I did. I went in and purchased a duplex, and from the beginning, it did great, and it did great because I analyzed a lot of things and made sure and listened to a lot of smarter people who had done it before. So I'll hand it over to German, and talk a little bit about your how and why, man.
Okay, so how I got into real estate, looking back in my whole life, I think it actually I got the seed in my brain back in 1993 when we migrated to the U.S. And we migrated into this old house, very, very depleted house. I can't even begin to describe it. Probably in the future, I'll describe that thing. But I remember seeing these
Three beds
older.
in one room.
What was that?
We had 3 beds in one room.
Yeah. So I got the idea of real estate investing while seeing this older guy. He was the owner of a bunch of houses in the town where we lived, and he was the old pop landlord. He used to do all the work and all that stuff. Even though his houses were depleted, and we knew he had a lot of money, because we used to see his family and his kids, and they were living life, even though he was the one that was always doing the back work. So I always knew that there was something in real estate, but I never studied it. Then moving forward, in 2008, I purchased a house for my parents, which I ended up losing in 2011. So that was my first try into real estate investing. I did it the wrong way. I had no idea about real estate investing. I lost it in 2011, and I still didn't know anything about real estate. In 2013, around 2015, while having a conversation with my brother, I used to be stationed in Hawaii. He called me and he mentioned this book, the Rich Dad Poor Dad, which Nelson also mentioned before, and that changed my whole perspective in life. One of the things that got me into this subject was because after reading that book, I could actually envision the all the ideas that book would give us or gives everybody, and I could see myself doing it. Unlike every other business that I tried, every other venture that I tried, I couldn't picture it. It was too complex for me. So Rich Dad Poor Dad opened that door, and again, thanks to my brother who actually recommended me that book. So I got into that book, and then why I stuck to real estate is because the simplicity. And when you talk about cash flow compared to other businesses or compared to other investments, and and it's just something that I always had, like I said, in the back of my mind. I just never studied it. It's so easy to study. It's so easy to follow. It's so easy to picture a deal. It's so easy to find the money for it. So that's why I stuck to it, and it's changed my life. It changed my family's life, and I see great things happening for all of us and whoever follows us and whoever decides to learn from the stories that we want to share. So just to continue with the subjects, let's talk about goals. Okay, so we have the background. We know that why we're in this business now. And what are your goals, Nelson? Where are you going with real estate?
Yeah. So this year, after reading Grant Cardone's 10X rule, it was clear to me that not only is it good to set goals, but it's good to set big goals. And if your goals don't scare you, then they're not big enough, right?
Yeah.
And so most people like to set comfortable goals and goals that they think that they can. And it occurred to me that I can set that goal, but that goal shouldn't be where I should try and reach. If I want 2 houses, I should set my goal for 5 houses, because I might end up at 4 houses, right? And so for this year, I know for a fact that once I move from Colorado Springs to St. Louis, which will happen in May, I'll buy a 4-plex using the VA loan. And so that'll add 4 units to my portfolio. And then after that, even before that, maybe my goal is ultimately to flip 2 houses. Now I have no flipping experience. I have no contractor experience, no experience trying to do anything like that. But I want to flip 2 houses. I want to get 4 units, that 4-plex. And ultimately, my long-term goal is by the age of 30 to be out of the military and to supplement my current income with cash flow from all my properties at that time.
Awesome.
So, Oscar, if you want to go ahead and crush my goals with yours.
No, there's no crushing, man. At the end of the day, it's everyone's different. Everyone has their own goals and their own ambitions, right? But I like what you said, man. You got to take action, right? Like, and that's part of that 10X thing is if you don't take action, you can't do anything. And I have the same mentality, and I think I got it from that book as well, because I love that book. I listen to it while I work out.
Yep.
And one of the things he said is, like you mentioned, you set your goal so big that it scares you and it scares everyone around you. And then they're like, what is he thinking? That's not attainable. Well, the truth is that it may not be, because you have a limited belief in what you can do. And we all have those. We all have limited beliefs, and it takes a little bit of mindset change to see what's capable, because there's always a way if you're a problem solver. So just like when you're in the gym and you're trying to bench and you're trying to do that new PR, you might fail doing your 5th rep or your 4th rep, right? But then now you set that standard that I can do 3 this week. And you know what? Next week, you're going to do 5. The week after that, you're going to do 7, right? So you're always failing, but you learn from that failure, that mistake. So for me, my goal specifically this year is to, start our over a big syndication business, help family and friends and those around us to be able to also invest in real estate with us. I've been trying to find a way and cracking the code to not only do this by myself, because, my brother and I went out and bought some other properties, but, there's family, there's friends that I want to include in this and give them the option if they want to do it. And with that comes a price tag. And I set that goal at 50 million worth of assets in a year. Now, in my head, do I think we're really going to make that? Yeah. Hell yeah, I do. If we don't make it and we do half of that, am I going to cry that I failed about it? No, because I know that next year we're going to crush it even more. So this year, we did about 1 to 1.5 million, and I'm not sad about that. I think 2019 was a great year. I know 2020 is going to be a great year. So that's my goal. That's what I strive for, and I'll hand it over to German.
So I'm not going to repeat because basically our goals are the same. Like you said, we're trying to get into syndication, and we're trying to get these big goals. Now we have the podcast, and we have this social media business that we're trying to grow and get into, right? Things that we've never done before, and they came out of the all the stuff that we did last year, right? Which we got into. Having small goals, but somehow the door opened for bigger things that we weren't imagining at all. So I'm not gonna go through our goals and what our goals are gonna be.
But what's your goal for, at least for cash flow, for in your pocket? What do you want to do that? How many units maybe? Like
I want to get. I mean, our goal, and we've mentioned it over and over again for this year. Huh?
Mention it to the public, bro.
No. Yeah, for this year, our goal, and we've always mentioned it, and we talk about it all the time. The same number, and it comes over and over and over. And we want to reach the $50 million real estate acquisition. Now we do the math, and how much is that in cash flow? I mean, I don't know. I never had that much money in my hand, but that's a lot of money, right? But besides the money, my goal is to recreate the same adrenaline rush that we had in 2019. Like I said, besides the money, it was just the excitement. It was something that I haven't felt, I think, ever, and it was continuous through the process of dealing with those deals and negotiating them. So I just want to recreate that over and over and over again, because I know it's gonna follow the money. The money is gonna follow that excitement, and not only that, but it's the fact that I feel, and one of the goals is what we're doing right now: share our experience and be able to show people that if we're doing it right, and we're just regular people, military, and we have spouses, and we have kids, and we wake up early, and we go to sleep late, but we have a vision, and if we are creating this vision and we're making it possible, I think anybody can. You know what I'm saying? And it takes me to the next subject, which you two mentioned, is the limited beliefs, right? I want to be able to show people that you don't have to start small. Start small is what we think that we have to start, right? Because we don't want to be scared, and we want to low crawl into crawling, and then into like kind of walking, and then into running, and then hopefully flying, right? Like Grant Cardone and other great people out there, what they're doing. But I want to show people that honestly, when you have that big goal and that ambition, greater things might happen. You know what I'm saying? It's just a matter of asking, and we're gonna get into the details of that. But that's a limited belief that I think my brother and even Nelson has. You know, you mentioned you want to buy 2 duplexes here. That was our goal for 2019, and that trip we're gonna get into it later. Our goal was to maybe buy 1 or 2 houses, and that was our limited belief. And then something opened up, and something happened where it was like, well, we're gonna get into 13 properties, 20 properties. Like, how is this happening? And we got it, and that raised the bar so high that I don't even have that limited belief anymore. There's other aspects that probably I'll mention later in the limited belief that I still have, but there's other things that open up so high that it's like I don't have those anymore. So going into limited beliefs, please, Nelson, if you can tell us, what are the obstacles that you've had so far up to this point in real estate investing?
Yeah, definitely. So besides the fact that I'm young, which I'm not young compared to some young guys who start at
Hey,
20.
let me cut you off, man, because you guys keep talking about young, and age and all that stuff. I'm not gonna say how old I am, but whoever is listening to us, whoever is watching this on YouTube and whatever channels that we put it on, let's make a bet of who guesses our ages.
I already said mine, but you almost.
I haven't said mine, so who guess like how old Oscar is, how old I am? If you're following us on Instagram, you probably kind of are gonna guess what ages, what our differences are, and all that stuff. But I just want to see because you guys keep talking about how young I am, and I feel like, oh my god. But go ahead, man, keep going.
Yeah. So besides the age factor, I mean, like most people, like the lack of capital and the lack of experience, right?
Yeah.
But that really didn't stop me from trying, right, or from taking action. I'd say besides the lack of experience and the lack of capital, I'd say the biggest obstacle was trying to find my niche, right? I mean, I'm sure other people can attest to this, but when you're starting out, you're like, oh, I can wholesale. Oh, I can flip. Oh, I can buy and hold. Oh, I can do this. I can do that.
I can really do that.
And I think it's
I think we all can.
yeah. It's key to find your niche early and find what you're good at and try and get good at that before you move into something else. So I think we all started at buy and hold, and now we're all diverging into different aspects. But I think most of us want to end up at large deals, large apartments, portfolios, whatever. But that was the biggest aspect was trying to find my niche. So Oscar, what was your biggest obstacle?
Let's see. I think the biggest obstacle for me has been filtering through all that knowledge, all that, there's so much out there and you have to filter kind of through the clutter to like you said, find your niche and how to actually do it. But in order to do that, you actually have to take action. Like right. I can't tell you how many free courses I did, how many webinars I did, how many real estate masterminds I went to, how many real estate meetings I went to, on meetup.com, and hey, investors all over, gave out my business card, try to meet people, see how they're doing it. You have to take action, but eventually, time becomes limited, and that's hard to continue to do. So for me, the obstacle is really kind of trying to figuring out through all the options that I took. The first thing I did was, the buy and hold and webinars on how to do that and how to run numbers appropriately. And then wholesale, that was my other thing I tried. And I could tell you, I even paid for that, and I could say it wasn't much, but for some people, much is a lot. For some people, much, I'm saying $300 might be a lot for a lot of people. That might be nothing for some other people. For me at the time, it was a lot, and I was having a kid. My wife was pregnant and our kid was going to be born around the same time I started to really, really get active. So that made it really hard. And then just getting that mindset ready, right? I think when I first began, and I jumped into my duplex, I was scared to jump into it. I almost backed out out of putting it under contract. And the reason I backed out was because I didn't have a bad feeling. I got overwhelmed and I got scared. And then I remember talking to my wife about it, and she was telling me, well, do you what do you feel bad about it? And I couldn't tell her why. And she was like, well, how do the numbers look? And she even saw it and the numbers look good. Right. So she said, so then what's the issue? and I just said, well, this is, a big step, a financial. And I really thought about it and passed through that fear, that initial fear, and just took a lunge into it. And I think that has set me up to a mentality, not only in real estate, but even at work, in the Air Force and everywhere else where, man, compared to some people, I take a lot of risk. And people are always like, bro, you're going to get in trouble.
Yeah.
And I push regs to the limit. I always live in the gray, and I try to maximize whatever opportunity there is. So that's kind of my obstacles I face. And it really comes down to mindset. I'll hand it over to my brother to see what kind of obstacles he's got.
So my biggest obstacle, and I'm not gonna lie, and it's probably gonna be brought up again, has been probably my wife. And the reason is because I have failed miserably in different businesses to the point that I've lost all my retirement, what I have in all my life savings, in my retirement account, and also like I mentioned before, in 2008, 2011, I lost a house. So my wife is very what is it called, analytical, and she's very smart, and I tend to look at the bigger picture and not so much at the details. My brother can testify to that. So be specific. So so one of my biggest challenges was that what her challenging me all the time was her asking me details that I had to go back and kind of second guess myself. The fact that, like I said, financially I had to struggle for years just to come back to scratching the surface back to zero, and then back to having some savings, and then trusting my wife to be like, okay, go for it. So that was probably my biggest obstacle. It wasn't so much mental, it wasn't so much, but it was the fact that that I always go towards everything that I want with so much force that my wife was kind of holding me back. And to a point, I'm kind of grateful, because there was a lot of times that I could have jumped into this and I wasn't really ready. So now that everything's happening, I think it's happening for a reason, and at a right time where I am actually ready for it. Both times, I mean, both in the timeline where it's happening, the fact that I'm retiring soon and I'm gonna have plenty of time, and I'm gonna have a extra income coming in. So so it's a perfect timing where everything's happening, and also I had a little bit of money saved. So now that I mentioned what my
wait, that's a hint to how old he is. I just want you to know that. He's about to retire. All right. That's a
okay, so going to the next subject, limited beliefs. Nelson, and this is kind of going out of subject, and I just want to expand on this. You mentioned that it was kind of difficult for you to find your niche. Tell us more about that.
So as a beginner, I'm sure all beginners in real estate understand that you're just trying to get in. You're just trying to find a way to get in by any means possible.
Yeah.
Even if it's a dumb deal, even if it's you have no money, if you're taking risks, you're just trying to find a way. And so I was trying to scrounge up enough money to put a down payment on a $20,000 house, and no bank's going to lend on that. And I was trying to do seller financing where those deals are very hard to find these days. No money down seller financing. I was trying to just pretty much, and I was always online looking, just trying to do anything. And so once I bought this house, Oscar told me that it was possible to get a second house under the VA loan, which I did. And that was something that helped me kind of scratch that itch for the time being. So I was able to practice landlording, and I have that second house. And the house that we're in now is the one that I sold a couple days ago. So yeah, that I think I'd say that's my answer to that question. So
what about you, Oscar?
Yeah.
What about what?
Your niche. How do you find it, or what do you think about it?
I mean, I tried a lot of things, but I think it found me, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
And like Nelson said, is taking action. You can't find it unless you actually try. I tried the wholesale thing. I knew I'm too busy at work to go flipping, and to actually oversee that. So the buy and hold thing is perfect for me. And then now I'm learning, tons about how to syndicate. And I think as long as I can um, outsource certain things, like I'm thinking big, where I can hire in the near future a virtual assistant. I can automate a system, and then kind of make the key, like I'm still managing and I'm still seeing the key decisions, and I know how to analyze, and I know how to look at big numbers on spreadsheets and provide good returns to people. Then I know I can do it and still be in the military if I wanted to. But yeah, I think it found me because I've always heard of people doing big deals, and I wonder how.
Yeah.
Right. And then now that I'm on the verge of it, I just think I got to push through. And it's a matter of accomplishing little tasks every day and making sure we're on track. Simple as that. I really think it found me. I didn't find it; it found me.
Yeah, no, and I agree with you. And just to add to that, because we're on the same boat, you and I. I used to listen to a lot of podcasts, Bigger Pockets and Grant Cardone and some other people that here and there they got into real estate and their first or second deal was 150 units. And I was like, oh my God, how do these people get into those, right? They're so lucky. And now that we got into, I mean, our deal wasn't like that big, but it was pretty substantial. I think my goal with what we're doing right now is to open people's minds to what we're talking about right now, right? The niche. It's like people look for the easy entry, right? We see everybody going through the gate of wholesaling, everybody going through the gate of flipping, and people think, okay, that's the only entryway, right? But it's so saturated that people don't think outside the box, and it's like, well, let me go out there and look for something else, right?
Yeah.
And now it's like, yeah, I want to open people's minds and look at other things besides, okay, I can only do what Nelson was doing, which it was the same thing that I was doing, probably Oscar too, looking at the $30,000 houses that nobody's gonna finance, and you gotta put all your savings into it. I started into flipping as well. I lost a bunch of money on it, and it wasn't my thing, right? But that's what we hear. It's like the no money down, the flipping, and you get $60,000 after 6 months, and the hard money lending, blah blah. But nobody looks into multifamilies. Let's go for straight up cash flow. Nobody looks at into that stuff for the entry point because people think that they need this capital, humongous amount of money, and that's not the truth. So. Just to move on, does anybody have anything to add to this?
No, I think that's great.
Yeah.
Okay, so just to move on, Nelson, why don't we start with you? How do you balance? Because I know that you're married, right? You have any kids?
No,
Okay.
not that I know of.
Lucky you. Well, you're young.
Yeah, I'm young.
So how do you balance? Since I talk about my difficulties with real estate and family, how do you balance your life, your personal life, and your family with real estate and your job?
Yeah, totally. Yeah, I think so. My wife has been cool about it. I think we're both the same mindset when it comes to entrepreneurship and when it comes to just having your own business and trying to get out of that 9-to-5 rat race. She's admitted that she might not be as interested in the details and in the research that I do on a daily basis, but she understands what I'm trying to do and she appreciates it. And like I said, we're moving to St. Louis, and the first thing we're doing is buying a fourplex where we're living in one unit and renting out the other 3 units. And that's not always comfortable, but she's down for it, and I really appreciate that. And it's not easy to find in spouses most times. So it hasn't really been hard for me to balance real estate with my family life, and I don't have any kids, so I can take risks. Yeah. What about you, Oscar?
So yeah, for me, it's been kind of all over. You know, when we first had our first son, I dragged my wife. We were part of a wholesale and flipping mastermind team, and we met every night from 7 to 8 at night. And mind you, we did this all the way until her 3rd trimester, right? So I drag her along, and I'm like, she's like, really wants to understand what is this thing I'm trying to do. So she comes by, and I tell her about wholesaling, and I'm all excited because we're part of a team. You know, I learned tons in that team, but I just remember dragging her into it, and she learned a lot too. She learned like what had really happened. But she was exhausted, and I was dragging her into so many things that I should not drag, and nobody should drag a pregnant woman into. The outcome of that came after her son was born. You know, she was tired, so I slowed down after her first son was born. But also, that's when we literally purchased our first duplex the week before my son was born. And she was excited for us, but she was also kind of upset because she's like, you know, this should not take over our time, you know, for our first child, right? And then, you know, after that, she saw how I made it into a like, you know, I outsource. I have a property manager. Like, she never hears about it. I make sure that rent comes in, we get paid, and it's self-sufficient. And then we get paid on top of that.
And she just enjoys it.
And she just enjoys it, right? So I got to kind of, but in order to do that, you have to really, you know, prove to your wife that you know how to do numbers, and she knows how to do numbers too. So she actually is better at math than I am, you know, and she'll tell you all day how she helped me do my math homework for my master's class. But, you know, you got to compliment each other. And one of the things that we're trying to do now, periodically, is sit down or have a date and talk about our goals, and align our goals, because her goals are more aligned towards family, and having a bigger family, and having quality time with the family. And my goal is to get in real estate to a point where I can provide all that. That is my goal. So we talk about it, and we talk about different things, and you know, now she's starting to create different goals if she does get out the military, like what jobs. So kind of listen to each other and stepping back for a second as to, hey, like, it's not just about real estate. And honestly, you don't have to do everything right now, every deal. You know, if you look around, real estate is not going anywhere. I mean, it's not walking up off the ground. It's not moving anywhere. They only limited supply. People are always selling real estate here and there. So, I mean, sometimes take a break and, you know, get back to the core of your why, right? Your family. At least that's for me. So, yeah. What about you, Jeremy?
What was the question again? I'm just kidding. No, so how do I balance it? The reality is I can't balance it. And I'll give you another hint about my age. I'm at a stage in my life where if I don't focus 100% on this, then I'm gonna see myself looking for a 9-to-5 job and starting from scratch, right? My wife came to realize that, and she just gave me the green light on what I want to do. So she just told me, well, just like Nelson, right? Even though she's very analytical, but she's also very conservative on how fast or how aggressive she is on her goals. Then She just gave me the green light. She doesn't want to know too much about what I'm doing at this moment. So she just told me, it's like, hey, you did great in 2019. You kind of proved yourself. Go for it. You know what I'm saying? Whenever you're doing greater than this, and I'm not scared anymore because she's still scared, then she wants to learn more about what we're doing. But as of right now, she wants to be out of it. She doesn't want to ask me any questions. She doesn't want to hold me back. So that's basically how I balance this right now. It's like there's no balance. It's 100% this, right? Because it's what's gonna provide for me and my family after 2 years. So that's basically how I do it. So now that we've had a little bit of story about all of us, background, why we're doing this, how we're doing that, Nelson, even though you're like 19, but today, if you get into a time machine, right, and you were able to go back to your 18-year-old self, what advice, and let's keep it to real estate, right? What advice would you tell your 18-year-old self if you had the opportunity?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I mean, first of all, I tell myself just basically that the importance and the power of time and the options to do whatever you want in this life. Those are the most, in my opinion, the two most important things in this life. And the tool that helps you do that just happens to be currency, which is money. And in my opinion, real estate is the easiest way to acquire that as an entrepreneur, because like Oscar said before, you don't have to reinvent the wheel. People have already done this. Many people have done this. All you have to do is follow the path that someone has laid before you and take a risk, take action. I'd say that it's pretty important, and you guys will understand this, that coming from an immigrant family, because both my parents are Nigerian, and so I'm first generation Nigerian American, and knowing the risk that they took to come here and to provide a better life for their children, me and my siblings, it almost makes me not angry but annoyed that if I had known this when I was 18, I could have done this earlier and basically rewarded my mom and my father earlier for bringing us to America. Because I mean, American laws make it easy to invest in real estate. Yep. They want you to invest in real estate, and if you're not doing that, then I mean, hopefully you're finding other ways to find financial freedom. But my advice ultimately to my 18-year-old self would be the importance of money, the importance of real estate, time, and the options to do whatever you want in this life. It's pretty much what I tell myself. What about you, Oscar?
So I would tell my 18-year-old self to wake up earlier and utilize time better. Now that I have less time, I am struggling to always find more time. But when you're younger, you know what? You sleep in, right? You sleep in on Saturday. You sleep in on Sunday if you want.
I never have, so I don't know.
Huh?
I never have, so I don't know.
Right. So, it's, I would have told myself, lose those habits and get out there. So I remember I was, I think I was 18. We looked into buying like a nightclub with my brother. And I went to that nightclub because they were selling it. And I started asking, hey, how much? Everything. I brought an agent with me to find out like what the building was worth. And he had helped us buy our home. And I really liked the process and I really liked business, but I never followed up on it, So I would have told myself, follow something that you love, because I I think at that age I started just really following the money, right? Like I went to college and I said, oh well, I'm gonna get a job and I'm gonna get money, or I'm gonna commission into the Air Force, become an officer, and get money. Well, as a lieutenant, you don't really make that much.
Yeah.
And it's not. I mean, not to compare money with anyone else, but at least it's not enough for you to invest and be happy. And in the military in general, I mean, I don't think we get paid enough to do what we do, right? So, all the odd hours, all the deployments, everything. And for me, I would tell my earlier self, like, hey, man, like, figure out what you really want to do and do it and go full force. I don't know if I would have chosen real estate because I didn't really know much about it, but that's also part of being young. You don't know what you don't know. But one thing I would definitely do is tell myself, wake up earlier and take advantage of time. Learn
Yeah.
learn how to graphic design, learn how to truly hustle. I was making editing videos on the side, but I did so much more of my time. I partied a lot. Shouldn't have.
Yeah.
So yeah, I hand it to you, Jeremy.
Well, if my brother partied,
Yeah.
I probably did that 1,000 times more than him. But what would I tell my 18-year-old? I think I will go back even further back. And what would I tell my 12-year-old when I got back to the States and like I mentioned before, and I saw that old man working and having all these properties, right? He was Cuban, so he was another immigrant. And I remember him saying that he didn't speak English at all. He had so many houses, and I mean, granted, they were depleted houses and they were old, but his family was living the life, right? And he could have retired and probably just give everything to his kids. Or at this point now, knowing what I know, he probably would have hired a property manager and just cash in every month. Um, but probably what I would have told my younger self was ask questions. A lot of times I was curious about a lot of things, about businesses, entrepreneurs that I knew, and they were, like Oscar said, hustling. And I never asked those questions. And I had the opportunity to ask those questions because they were close to me. And I never asked, hey, what is it that you do? How do you do it? And I probably looking back, just talking to that guy, that Cuban guy, the landlord, he probably could have actually he gave me a job one day. He told my dad, he's like, hey, if he helps me out with this, I pay him every week, this and that. And me thinking, I had that mentality, and that's thanks to my mom. But her mentality was that she didn't want me to make money at an early age because she was scared that I would get hungry for money instead of education, right? In our families, probably you too, Nelson, education and going to college and following the path that everybody that we think that is successful, that's the only path, and that's the for sure path to success. So I never followed into that because my mom wanted me to go to school, so I wanted to go to school. I didn't want to get sidetracked, earning money here and there. So I never followed to that. I never asked the questions, even though I was curious. So I would tell myself, hey, stop being a dumbass and ask questions if you're curious about it. People are very willing now. Now at this point of my life, I understand that people are very willing to answer questions and to guide older people through the right path. That I think I'm there a little too late.
Yeah.
So that's basically what I would do. So now
I think it's. Let me just add one more thing. I think it's funny too because my mom asked me the other day. Apparently, somehow sometime I promised her that I would get my PhD. And yeah, and I'm over here still trying to muster up the energy to get my master's.
Yeah.
But I told her, I said, I broke it down. I said, basically, anything anybody does in this world is to survive and provide for their family, survive and protect their family, whether it's a mom, dad, brother, sister. Everyone just wants to survive. And the tool that helps us survive is, in this case, money, right? That's what puts food on the table. That's what pays the utilities, gets you your water, provide your shelter. It's money. And I told her, I said, if you found the cheat code to survival, to getting money, which in this case, in my opinion, is real estate, why would I get my PhD? Because people get more education, their bachelor's, their master's, and their PhD, ultimately for what? To get a good job, to get a better job, so that they can get what? More money.
Money, yeah.
And so if I can bypass all of that through real estate, why then should I go and get my PhD? And it kind of, I could see her trying to think about it and trying to rotate the gears in her head, but she still comes from, immigrant family, and it was hard for her to understand. But
yeah, and the reality is, and I see it that way too, because I had that same conflict. Well, with my mom, it already passed. I mean, I'm old enough to tell my mom, it's like, screw it, I'm not gonna do what you want anymore. Yeah. But now I have that with my wife, right, where she wants to scale and get her degrees, and she wants to be a doctor and all that stuff, or not a doctor, but have her doctorate. And she wants me to get that degree, right? And I'm like, and I'm only like 3 classes away. But I'm like, I don't want to get that. I mean, I study every day, and I study all day. Like, I listen to podcasts, I read books, I read articles, I read about how to grow in social media. And that is I feel like I'm getting a degree itself just by all the studying that I do. It's constant, So I agree with you. It's like as long as you study and as long as you're doing something that is legal and that is gonna affect a lot of people in a good way, I think that's it. You don't need a degree that is gonna validate who you are and what you're doing in this world to be successful.
But that's not denouncing degrees or bashing.
Correct. Yeah.
Wants to get that. Because we need doctors, we need engineers, we need lawyers, we need those people. But for the people who believe that that's the only way, it's not the only way.
Exactly.
Especially
for us immigrants.
That's a great point. I was just about to add that perspective because I'm someone who has a master's degree, and I think it's opened up tremendous amount of doors. And that's really what degrees do. They put your foot in the door. And then from there, you have to convince the people that you are qualified for whatever. And even in real estate, I mean, my several of the classes and the fact that you can begin something and finish it, whether it's a bachelor's degree or a master's degree, speaks volumes. If someone knows that you can start and finish something, even though you dread it, they know you put sacrifice and you're going to start and finish something that you love. And to the other point that you say, Nelson, is we need those people. Like, I went to a laboratory one time. I'm not going to say the name, not that it's classified or anything, but I just think, they're in the whole world doing really cool things. Whole bunch of scientists. I'm talking about scientists in lab suits creating lasers and, shooting particles around and creating nuclear stuff and all supercomputers. I mean, you name it. It's an awesome government facility.
So what we're saying, that the takeaway from this is that if you're studying a specific career that requires that type of education, degree
but that's their passion. That's their passion, right?
Exactly.
Like that scientist is going to want to get that PhD because they want to be the best.
Exactly. But just to get a degree, thinking that's the only path to success, and for financial purposes, that's not the only way.
No, absolutely not.
Exactly.
Absolutely not. But I hear a lot of real estate people bash on degrees and formal education, I disagree with that. I think it takes a lot for people to begin something and finish something. When I know someone has had at least a bachelor's, or even their associates, or even their community college of the Air Force degree, it shows to me that they can start something and they can finish it.
Well, for all our viewers and listeners, my brother just punched me in the face because I never finished my degree.
I think you should, man. I think you're 3 classes away.
So moving forward, right? Now that we're talking about education, Nelson or Oscar, I don't know who wants to jump in first, but let's go in the same order. Nelson, what book?
No. Hold on, bro.
Whoa.
Hold on. We're way too ahead. Let's talk about where you are now in your real estate investing goal. What have we done and where we are?
Okay, go ahead, Nelson.
Yeah. So far, like I said, I bought my first house in January 2018 with the VA loan. A year later, I bought a second house with the VA loan too, because the cap at the time was 450. Now the cap as of January 2020 is 510,000, something like that. But I bought those two houses, and I just recently sold my primary residence, the one I'm in right now, because I'm going to free up that VA loan, that space, and use that space to get a fourplex, which is what I should have done.
When you say the cap, you're talking about the limit on the VA loan, right?
Yes, the limit
not
on
the cap rate on your
yeah. The limit on the VA loan and most loans, because they're pretty much the same with most loans. With the VA loan, at least it's $510,400.
It depends on the area, man.
So the average is 510,000, except for expensive areas. Expensive areas like LA, Boston, Seattle, all those areas are going to be higher, 600 to 700. But for all the cheap cities and all the normal cities, the cap has been raised, or the limit has been raised from 484,000 last year to 510,000 this year. So I had those two houses. I sold this one, and I'm going to get the fourplex in May, which will bring me to a total of 5 units in my portfolio by this May. So that's where I'm at in my
nice
journey. What about you, Oscar?
So we don't make it longer. Oscar is gonna talk on behalf of the two of us.
Okay.
So where we're at on our goals. So now, as I said before, individually, I've had duplex, another property here in Colorado Springs, and now recently we closed on 13 properties that equal 20 units. So now, as a business that we have, which is Good Day Ventures, we might rebrand that to do Good Day Capital. We're still working on that, but we as a company, we hold 20 units, 13 homes. Individually, I have 22. Well, actually 23 if I count this one here. And then that's where we're at currently with our investing journey. But in our goal, we're currently working on structuring more apartment deals. And I say apartment because recently we got into multifamily rental portfolio, and that's what we got. We got 13 homes, 20 units, which we're learning tons about as far as how to do better due diligence, how to make sure that we meet the minimums for refinances for each individual home. Long story short, I mean, from this experience, I learned why everyone loves all those guys that talk about apartment buildings, why they love it so much. This I was talking to Nelson about at work today. I was like, I learned so much from this experience because don't get me wrong, it's still a great deal. We have to stabilize the portfolio, and I'm pretty sure that we're going to sell it. But even that, selling a rental portfolio is harder than selling an apartment building. An apartment building is valued straight cash flow. How much money does that asset make? Yeah. When you do anything 4 units and below, no matter how much money it makes, it's still going to be capped by the comps and the market in the area. So that's kind of where we're at right now specifically, and we're moving into bigger deals, bigger money. And like I said, I think from here to half year, we're trying to reach milestones, so 5, 10 million, 15 million, 20 million. And then from there, I think once you hit a certain number, it's just a snowball effect. So, and we're trying to team up and work with other people. So I learned that you can do this by yourself. It just will take longer. You got to build a team and people you trust and work together if you have the same vision. Yeah, so that's between my brother and I. And I know Nelson's joining in with us at some point.
Oh, yeah.
So
well, he already did on the podcast, on the social media side. So.
Well, now he's gonna, we're working on structuring different deals, and I know Nelson's gonna be excited to be a partner and an equity partner in it and get in there.
Yeah, absolutely.
So
all right, so Oscar, what do you want to take it next?
What do I want to what?
What do you want to take it next? Or should I now ask the question?
No, you ask it. You were ready to ask. Just skipped over.
All right, so now we know we know where we are right now. So looking back, okay, so we talk about education, right? And books are part of how we feed our minds right now, right? So Nelson, to start with you again, what books that you have read that you wish you've read before?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll be honest. In high school, middle school, growing up, I hated reading. My attention span was so short. I would read 1 or 2 pages and take a nap, and then wake up, and then have to read those same 2 pages again because I forgot what was on what I just read. But once I found a passion and once I found real estate and realized that I needed to learn more, books became fun to read because I needed to know everything I needed to know so that I could take action. And with that being said, the number one book, of course, I'm sure everyone always says this, is Rich Dad Poor Dad. Rich Dad Poor Dad definitely opened up my mind and definitely showed me a different side of life that only a few people in this world know about and exercise. And so Rich Dad Poor Dad, the 10X Rule by Grant Cardone, and I'd say just any of the Bigger Pockets books, the No Money Down, Buying with No Money Down by Brendan, any of the books by Brendan Turner, not to be a plug in here, but any of those books, like if I had,
You're a fan.
Yeah. If I had any of those books, if I had read any of those books and read that earlier, I don't know where I'd be right now, but those are the books that I would have probably read. What about you, Oscar?
Well, I think for mindset, yeah, definitely that one, and I forget what the name is, The Millionaire Investor. Next door. What is that? Which one is it?
I think it's The Millionaire Real Estate Investor.
That's the one. Yep. That one has a clear vision as how to do it. But again, those are books that have just vision. If you want to get more practical, there's other books out there that I wish I had read earlier. Kind of help me take action and learn how to do more things, like the Bigger Pockets ones. I'll tell you exactly how to really, invest from far away. How to flip homes. And they're pretty detailed. Actually, like strategies and numbers. And then, the other books I've listed in my Instagram, as far as like syndication, Vinny Chopper's book, Joe Fairless' book. I mean, if I had read those when I was 18, man, I don't know, I would have sparked something in my mind. I was like, what? Yeah. I mean, they provide a blueprint. It's not. I mean, like I said, the path is there. You just gotta read between the lines and figure it out. Connect the dots.
Absolutely.
Yeah. How about you, brother?
So the first one, the one that changed my whole life and got me to even reading, Like you say, Nelson reached out for that. The second one, which skyrocketed my life in every aspect. It was the 10x rule by Grant Cardone. Um, then a book that changed my perspective on the vision of money and how wealthy people view money. Um, Seven Money Myths by Keith Weinhold. Sorry that I screwed his name. By from Rich Get Rich Education. And the second, the last one that I think has helped us on negotiating with deals and negotiating and talking to people as well, and be more open to um, different personalities and how to again how to negotiate with people is Never Split the Difference, which I recently read, and I probably listened to the book 1,000 times too, in conjunction with all those books that I just mentioned. So yeah, those are the books that I probably would have told myself, hey, you need to read those, and it would change your life.
All right. Last question.
All right, let's make this last question a fire round. You know, what three habits contributed to your current success? Go, German. Three things.
Three things.
On the spot.
Oh my God. I usually get time to think about it. Now I can't. Okay.
No, yeah.
three habits. One is waking up early. That has been a good habit of mine. The other one is working out. And the third one habit that I've made was to try to be more detailed. But I haven't mastered that habit, and my brother knows about it.
Yeah, we're working on that. We gotta polish you up.
I try. I need to slow myself down to the point that I get focused on little details, because I tend to lose a lot of details. So I'm working on that habit. But those are three habits that I pay close attention to.
Okay. Yeah, and my three I'd say would be being persistent, being optimistic, and just being brave. Like, you're gonna mess up, you're gonna do things that you're not comfortable with, but if you don't do it the first time, you won't be that millionaire. You won't be that person who's an expert at doing those things. So those are my three.
That's good, man. So for me, first one is waking up early. The second one is having a now workout time. It's become a big thing for me, so I can clear my mind and refresh my body. And the last one is being intentional with your time. I write things down. I tell people all the time, either use your phone to write it down or to speak into it, create a note. And you have to be intentional with every minute of your time. So know how you're spending time. If you're intentional about having Netflix on from 9 to 10 p.m., then make sure that's what you do. You know, if you're intentional with your family, make sure you set that specific time. So that is what I think has contributed to my success in business. And I'm trying to apply that more throughout my whole life. So those are my three things.
Before we go,
Mm-hmm.
last thing before we go, where can people find you guys? What's your social media, your Instagrams?
Oh, that's a good point. That's a very good point.
Yeah.
Go ahead, Jeremy.
Where can they find us? The Millionaire Enlisted in all platforms. And just by Googling my name, German Buendia, you can find me as well.
Okay.
So same thing, you know, I'm joining at the Millionaire Enlisted team on all platforms, but I'm on Instagram as Oscar.J.Buendia. So first name dot my middle initial dot my last name. And I'm on LinkedIn as well, man. I love LinkedIn. And the only one I'm not on is on Twitter, TikTok. You know, that's new. I've never really liked Twitter, but yeah, I'm on Facebook, IG, LinkedIn, and I love those. So Send me a message. Let's connect on LinkedIn. I love it.
Yeah. You can find me on Instagram at _CHIEDOZIE_. That's my personal page. And my second page is my real estate page called MNO Real Estate. And that's just a play on for my name, my wife's name, and our last name. That's MNO Real Estate. So that's both on Instagram.
I love it. And Nelson's joining, he's part of the Millionaire Enlisted team. So, that M&O and Millionaire Enlisted bond is there, and you'll see more of his actually training videos. He does a lot of awesome videos with house hacking and how to use an FHA loan, how to this, how to that, which I love, So, yeah, German, take it away, brother.
So thank you, everybody, for listening to us, for sticking all this time with us. Again, we apologize if we made any mistakes, if we sounded too excited at times. But please follow us, leave us a comment, leave us a review. Please stick with us. We have a lot of content that we want to share with you, a lot of experience between the three of us. In the future, we're going to bring guests as well. So if you want to be part of this podcast and you want to tell your story, please contact us and we'll hook it up. So
let me say one last thing.
Yeah.
We want to enlist you into the millionaire ranks.
Nice.
So follow us. Let us know what you want to learn about. And we're more than there to help. Send us a message on IG and we'll talk about things. Back to you, brother.
Good. So Nelson?
Yeah, I'm good.
All right. So stop playing games and play the game. Peace out.